Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
This message is for Kyle Clark. I said some really mean, hurtful things about you. And this is the Kyle Clark that cornered Scott Bottoms at the state capitol. I said some very mean things, and I should apologize for it. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have known that the Democrats wanted to protect predators. We wouldn't have known that the Democrats don't want to protect children. And we wouldn't have had that focal vision on the fact that they want to legalize prostitution. If it wasn't for you sensationalizing this and making it so everybody was looking at it, we probably would have missed this, and it wouldn't be something that we even know. And because of you, we now know that the Democrats don't want to keep children safe. As a matter of fact, they want to make sure that Colorado stays the top trafficking state out of all the states. And this state will be another one of the top trafficking states. So I just want to say I appreciate you for that, because what you're doing is the Lord's work. It really is. So thank you for that. But also, I do want the people in the Capitol to know that when you vote against protecting children, when you make sure that you continue to protect and you continue to look after, you continue to make this state a safe place for predators, it means you're complicit. And so everything that Scott Bottoms is saying, it really does kind of add up. I mean, you can read between the lines. Scott's 100% right. You guys are kind of weirdos. And I don't know how you got in the office, but you know what? I have a feeling that your time is going to be up soon. I think the FBI is going to get you. But anyway, I just wanted to say sorry, Kyle Clark, because I shouldn't have got upset. I should have realized the big picture. And the big picture is that you're doing the Lord's work. So thank you. Appreciate you. And I hope Scott Bottoms, I don't even have to hope, because I know Scott Bottoms will continue to try to protect the children.
That was, I think the most powerful part about what he was saying is that Kyle Clark represents 9 News. And 9 News is one of the most predominant news organizations, channels in Denver, Colorado. And when Scott Bottoms came out last week and said, look, we're working with the FBI, we bypassed CBI, we can't trust them. It's true, you can't trust CBI. It's true, you can't trust the FBI in Denver. These are the people that tried to, inside of this government fight that's going on, these are the people that are endemic to the fraud and rottedness that we have inside of our establishment. And Kyle Clark decided he was going to lie about me. And every other day he seems to write a different article about me or Scott Bottoms. But when he came out against Scott Bottoms for talking about pedophilia and how it ran rampant through our legislature and every part of government, who is he protecting? And it gets down to this good old boy club. And I'm going to say this. Kyle Clark won't be at 9 News this time next year. He won't be. They won't be able to keep him. He's a liar and he's a tool for this radical leftist agenda. And what Free was saying was that, we should be happy that Kyle Clark is doing this because it makes us realize that we're over the target. At the same time that Kyle is saying that it's dangerous and walking in and trying to talk to a Democrat that sits in the legislature for Colorado, they're trying to pass the legalization of prostitution in the state of Colorado. They're trying to legalize it. And just last week, they tried to pass something that would have made pedophiles, it's still going on right now. They would have made the penalty for pedophiles be probation. Now you already have these rules for fentanyl, and that you could have enough fentanyl to kill your entire town, and you are eligible for probation. It happened up in Mesa County. But Kyle Clark is telling the people one thing, when behind the scenes he's playing cover for these radical leftists. He's playing cover for the devil itself. So Kyle Clark blocked me on every platform. I had to go find this video where he included him with me and Scott Bottoms. But here's the reality for the people in Colorado, and here's the thing that you should probably know. Kyle Clark is a devious little deviant demon. And here's what I wrote about Kyle Clark. I had to put up the thing that Free put up and have something to say. Let's go ahead and put it up. Kyle Clark is a liar and a deviant of epic proportions. He decided to protect pedophiles as a journalist for a major Denver news station at 9 News. This man, if you call him that, is literally playing cover for Democrats who want to stop pedophiles from going to jail and legalize prostitution so more children can be trafficked and abused. He actually wrote an entire story about how Democrat lawmakers are victims in all this. Imagine a news channel that pays a man to victimize children. That is Kyle Clark. Go ahead and take it down. You know, we don't realize that we got to the point where we don't care anymore. Like, I'm at the point where I just don't care. I'm running for governor because I think the people holistically across the state of Colorado have become the useful idiots and slaves for really, really bad people, including this piece of trash, Kyle Clark. But we're not the only state that this happens in. But it all happened because of stolen elections. A rotted judiciary and judges being able to act with impunity is because they were allowed to be put in those positions by a legislator who says we have to shield them and give them immunity. So there's no accountability in any part of our government. It's the haves versus the have-nots. And now we're at that place right now where Kyle's like, well, Joe calls for violence. Joe calls for taking it into our own hands if they're not going to do the right thing. I did. I called for that. But there are many men in this country that have had enough. We've had enough of our children being victimized and our families being treated like slaves. But in Colorado, let me just tell you what's about to happen. Jenna Griswold is going to prison. Phil Weiser is going to prison. Jared Polis, I pray he goes to prison. There's a lot of things happening right now. And this morning, Harry talked about the 2020 election and what's happening, what's going to happen going into this next couple of weeks, which is going to be completely revealing. Let's go ahead and play it.
We've made period-to-period comparison of the people that are shown to having voted in particular elections. In 2020 in Colorado, there's over 328,000 changes to the record of who voted in the period of December 1st of 2022 to December 22nd of 2025. These are called out-of-period adjustments, if you were looking at it from a financial perspective, but they're completely disallowed. This is tampering with a federal record. What is the reason that they're washing these old votes out? It's specifically either to hide tremendous malfeasance or some sort of nefarious, difficult to explain error in the systems, or more likely, in all frankness, because of the fact that they're hiding it, is that there's actual malice involved, that this is election fraud.
So Owen Gregorian put this post out on X in response to the recent article put out by Joe Oltmann, the voter fraud in Colorado. He said, breaking exclusive, United for Freedom uncovers massive election fraud in Colorado where votes changed after election was certified. Vote tampering in Colorado, explosive new report. So this report staff says tampering federal elections resulted is against the law, and a new study by United for Freedom exposes an explosive problem. Federal election records of the vote are changing after the election has been certified. This is malice, ignorance, or pathetically pervasive apathy by our election officials. Tina Peters was right. Harassed, persecuted, and convicted by a state of Colorado for defying unlawful orders from Colorado Attorney General, I shouldn't say Attorney General, it should say Secretary of State Jenna Griswold. Tina Peters is living out a nightmare no American should ever experience. Confined to a Colorado jail, it's not a jail, it's a prison. Tina is serving an excessive and unwarranted prison sentence because she had the courage and integrity to follow federal election law, requiring her to preserve the Mason County 2020 election records. The Unite for Freedom Colorado Vote Tampering Report is clear. Illegal changes were made to individual voter history records after certification of the 2020, 2022, and 2024 elections. They knew something was wrong, and we have the evidence to prove it. So it goes through how it works. Thousands of changes. Go ahead and put this on each one of my pages if you would, please. And so I don't have to go through the whole thing. Well, let's just read it. Let's read it. Thousands of changes have been documented by United for Freedom data analysts by comparing snapshots of certified election records. Each snapshot is the moment in time when the record was downloaded from the state database. These snapshots are auditable items required to be retained and should not change after an election has been certified, but voters literally disappeared by the thousands while others were added. These are error corrections, which tell us the certification was election fraud, or are they part of a massive cover-up? We don't know how voters voted, but we know that tampering with federal records behind closed doors without a transparent adjudication process is an apparent crime. Our great team of data analysts applying forensic standards and peer-reviewed process documented over 300,000 changes in 2020 and over 150,000 in 2022 by comparing 3 snapshots. In 2024, comparing only 2 snapshots, the number was 3,416. Well, future comparisons of 2024 snapshots revealed hundreds of thousands of changes, as they did in 2020 and 2022. Or will patriots looking over the shoulders deter future changes? What will the FBI find if it sees all of Colorado's records and meticulously audit them one by one? United for Freedom analysis are evidence of a potential crime at the highest levels of Colorado government. We the people demand a full criminal investigation and that Tina Peters be set free by federal action pending the outcome of that investigation. While we can only see the artifacts of the apparent election fraud, criminal investigators will be able to see it all. As always, United for Freedom has shared all of our data line by line with law enforcement and courts of competent jurisdiction. How do we know we won? This is not theoretical, it is the operative question. If the election was lawful and the results were legitimately certified, why would the changes be made to a record after certification? If corrections were required post-certification, how could the elections have been certified as accurate? There is no third option. Okay, go ahead and take it down. Here's my problem. We already know that the elections are fraudulent. We know the elections are fraudulent in all 50 states. It's time to be done having the conversation about what is or is not happening. And here's something I put up about Eric Coomer went to work for Sequoia Voting Systems in nearly 2005 right after Smartmatic purchased them. So Eric Coomer went to work for Sequoia Voting Systems in early 2005 right after Smartmatic purchased them. If you follow the details and data from 17 states and the District of Columbia to the use of the technology in ES&S at all, you will see how important this chart is. If you understand technology and the psychology of people, book descriptions, how people shift, you can see the genesis of the stealing of the Colorado voice and the beginning of mass slavery of the people of a group of devils who stole elections en masse for now going on 2 decades. The chart showed the effect of mail-in ballots being installed after 2004 became the bedrock of election fraud within the next cycle. If you look at the number of people that migrated to Colorado in the election in 2008, this represents 151% Democrat shift, as if every person that moved to Colorado was a Democrat, which we know is not true. They stole elections with mail-in ballots and solidified theft, instituting Dominion voting systems. Check my math. And this goes through, and so you can see it. Go up, if you would. And just make it bigger. Can we make it bigger? You have these shifts that you have in the elections where from 2004 to 2008, you had a plus, let me see if I can get to it real quick so I can make it bigger on my side. You have a plus 4.7% Republican leaning in 2004. And in 2008, it was a plus 9%. It was a 13.7% swing. What's even more important is that it actually moved back the Republican way to 5.4%. So how did that happen? How did that happen given the shifts that we know occurred? Well, let's just talk about this. We're not the only state with these problems. Colorado's not the only state. Go ahead and take it down. But what this does show you is that it never switched back. See, elections have a tendency to move and sway with public perception about what's happening. That's what happens. They move back and forth. And here we are in the middle of what can only be a downward slide towards legalizing prostitution, legalizing pedophilia, adding drugs to the smorgasbord of other things that are just available on the street, letting criminals out on the street while putting good people in prison. Degradation everywhere. And that only happens when leaders are selected, not elected. We have a guest that is going to join us now. And I've told you a little bit about his story. I haven't told you enough. So Phil Lather is the owner of Moon Shadow Inn and Resort. It's a historic bar and restaurant in Beach Lake, Wayne County, Pennsylvania. He described himself as a man who pursued the American dream for 25 years without so much as a parking ticket. And this is when his battle began. In a recent YouTube video, in late 2026, Lather claims widespread racketeering and corruption in Wayne County courts, including judges and attorneys colluding to deny due process, resulting in loss of civil liberties, property seizures. I mean, they've taken everything from him. They took a house from him. Matter of fact, you wouldn't even believe this story had I not literally downloaded the file and gone through it line by line with a bunch of attorneys. But the incident goes back for him, goes back to, in 2023, a mask mandate dispute during his son's hearing, a failed rent-to-own deal involving threats and permit violations, multiple lawyers failing or becoming incapacitated because one had a stroke, several strokes. After a COVID vaccine, the judgment was issued against him, seizing his home, and then another one for $30,000 because the home wasn't paid off. He filed complaints with the PA Disciplinary Board and Supreme Court, alleging procedural due process violations, and he won. But yet they still were able to keep his home. Now they're coming to his house to take everything left that he has. He's had to close his restaurant. And he basically has tried everything. He can't understand it. Like how he's never stepped into a courtroom. Well, we're here to get an update from him and to hear his story and to just walk through some things. So with that said, Phil, welcome to the show.
Hello, Joe. I'm here.
Brother, you've been through a lot.
Extremely stressful. In 5 years now, I've been going through this.
You had an original video. Walk us through what happened, because I think you showed pictures. You showed that the guy that's there basically had been involved in insurance fraud and burning someone's building down previously. This is not an isolated incident. This is a cartel involving a judge, a sitting judge.
Absolutely. Well, I posted a home for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and a guy messaged me from Florida, asked me, well, basically talked me into doing a rent to own. And I said, I guess I would do it. You know, he said, oh, I'm serious. I'll fly up there and look at it. So he did. He flew up and looked at the house, and he said, I'll take that deal. Put his deposit down. We went and got it, my contract notarized and everything. And then he went back to Florida, and I never seen him again. He shoved his son-in-law and daughter in the house, and it was like 4 or 5 months, somewhere around there. They had the sheriff's SWAT team there. They had the Environmental Protection Agency there for dumping a whole dumpster load of trash 2 houses over. They were building on the land without permits. I couldn't get them to the borough zoning. I couldn't get them to stop the building on the land without permits. So I went over to the house. I said, listen, you can't build on this land without permits. You don't even own the land yet. The guy pulled a handgun on me and tried to kill me. Well, I said, you know what? That's enough. So I went downtown. You know, I was in search of, going to go around town, see if I can find an attorney. And a local gentleman walked up to me and said, I saw your pictures on Facebook. He said, those people, he said, I'll tell you who you have in your house. Those people rented my brother or my dad's house, one of those, and they put Aflac insurance on everything in the house and burned it to the ground. He said, that's who you got in your house. I said, okay. So I went and found a lawyer, and I gave the lawyer $1,000. He said, give me $1,000 retainer, and we'll start this process going and getting those people out of the house. 5 months later, the lawyer still didn't do anything at all. So I hired lawyer number 2 to go after lawyer number 1 and get my $1,000 back. So he did, and I told him, I said, when I get this money back, I want it in a receipt, you know, that he's giving it back so I can prove that he's giving it back. Well, anyway, after I got the money back, lawyer number 2 went and filed in court for breach of contract. I mean, these people didn't just breach the contract. They was robbing local stores and bringing all the property back to the house. There was criminal activity happening. So I said, at this point, I can't accept another penny from the guy in Florida, or else that would be acknowledging that I'm under contract still with him. So I personally sent a termination letter to Florida to the guy. Now, lawyer number 2 filed in court for breach of contract. 2 weeks before the hearing, he called me and said, Mr. Lather, and I couldn't really understand what the guy was saying. I mean, I could, but it was like talking with a mouthful of marbles. Well, anyway, he told me that he was in a VA hospital and that he had a couple of strokes and that he filed for continuance and the courts are backed up from COVID and it would be a little while. I said, okay. Well, my sister runs legal aid in the courthouse, in the same courthouse. So she called me up 2 weeks later and she said, you know, you had a hearing yesterday? I said, no, I didn't. It was continued because my lawyer had 2 strokes. She said, well, guess what? The judge had the hearing without you and awarded specific performance and gave those people your house. Okay, I was leveled. I was absolutely floored. So I started writing letters and calling people, trying to get help. And somebody told me that I should file with the disciplinary board of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. So I did. I filed a complaint with them. They investigated the whole thing. They found out that my lawyer did have 2 strokes and that I never went inside of a courtroom. And basically that was it. That just ended the matter. Well, yeah, it ended the matter, but it got back to the judge. The judge obviously got pissed off and then hammered me with another $30,000 judgment. Now, at this point, I was already financially devastated because I had these people living in my house. I had to pay the taxes and do all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't getting a penny from them because I had to stop that. Now, I'm at a point of where I never even went inside of a courtroom and the house is gone. So then I said, you know what? I've got to find out what's going on here. I was unable to really talk to the lawyer because he was in the hospital. So I went to the courthouse and I went to the pathonetary's office. And I said, you know what, I want to find out what I can about this case. And they asked me the docket number. I said, I have no idea. Well, she said, who's the case? And I said, it's Phil Lather versus David Astor. So she pulled it up and she gave me the dockets and I looked it up. And I said, oh my God, I have a hearing tomorrow in front of a judge for the second contempt. I guess I had already been held on one contempt. And now the second contempt. So I went to the hearing, and the judge said, Mr. Lather, come up and sit with your attorney. And there was the first time that I've seen the attorney. He was in a wheelchair, And he was sitting there drooling on himself. And I said, Your Honor, that's not my attorney. I've been trying to get him to recuse himself and get my paperwork back so I can get another attorney. So he looked at the attorney and said, Is that true? And he goes, Yes, Your Honor. And now he said this with like marbles in his mouth, like you couldn't really understand. Well, anyway, well, why? He said, I was waiting for you to do it. So the judge yelled at him, You're recused. Now get out of here. So the lawyer left, and then the judge looked back at me and said, Mr. Lather, you're here on contempt. There's only one way to satisfy this contempt. Convey title to the house or go to jail. That was my options. So I thought for a second. I said, you know what? I'll convey title. So I conveyed the title, and I said, I'm conveying this under distress, and I conveyed the title, and I gave him the title. When I left there, that's when everything else started with the $32,000 judgment, somewhere around there. Now, they wanted to levy against my estate, so they called me into Brandon Ellis's office, the attorney that's going to execute against my estate. So when I went to the meeting there with Brandon Ellis, I brought all my paperwork, and I showed it right to him. I said, see this? I never went into court. My attorney had 2 strokes, and I was denied due process, and your $30,000 judgment is no good. It's poison fruit. He laughed at me, and he said, I don't care. You have to make a living somehow. And I said, so does a child sex trafficker, but he lacks a moral compass. He got real mad, and he said, on Monday, I'm selling everything you own. In fact, your guitars are going to go home with me. And he said, what's that you got with you? And that is a copy of the Constitution that I have here. He said, well, what are you doing with that? And I said, well, what else do you bring to an unconstitutional hearing but a copy of the Constitution? I snapped a picture of it right then when he said that. The bailiff came running over and tried to get my right arm behind my arm to arrest me. And I looked at him with my nose just about on his nose and said, you better go get 10 more, because at this point I'm getting pretty pissed off. So he let go of my arm, and I left the courthouse. And ever since then, it's been the sheriff trying to levy against my estate. So I quickly filed the bankruptcy so they wouldn't sell my truck, because the sheriff's department came and tagged my Harley Davidson, tagged my King Ranch truck, came into my bar restaurant, videotaped all my guitars and my antiques, and they're going to sell it all at an auction. So I filed the bankruptcy. Okay. After about 4 months of paying the bankruptcy, almost $1,000 a month, to stop them from robbing me, which is almost extortion. They're extorting money out of me. Well, I get a letter from the bankruptcy court. We're going to dismiss your bankruptcy unless you can come up with another $55,000 by Tuesday. And I said, geez, this is getting insane. I mean, so then I started posting videos. Come for my stuff, and I'm prepared to die. Like, I will stand at the door with a shotgun and die, because if you're going to take any of my stuff at this point, you'll be robbing me. So that's where we are now, Joe. They dismissed my bankruptcy. Well, they didn't dismiss it. They rescheduled it for the 13th. And on the 13th, they ordered that now they will give me to June to come up with $50,000, or else they're going to come and crush me to dust. But I still have to make my $1,000 a month bankruptcy payment. And at this point, I can't even afford to eat. My bar restaurant is completely shut down. I mean, it's insanity, and I don't know what to do here. Well, that's my story, Joe.
So they took your house. Your house is worth how much?
Boy, I mean, I would say probably on this market, maybe between 150, 180,000, somewhere around there.
And you owed money on that, which is why they said you had to pay another $30,000 to cure the loan.
I owed $28,000. I bought the house cash, and I took an equity line of credit to remodel the house.
And so they said basically, well, you didn't show up, so they're just going to hand the house off to this other person.
That's correct.
And you'd never been into a courtroom, but you hired a lawyer.
That is correct. Now, they knew that we wasn't going to be in the courtroom because on June 3rd, my attorney was in the hospital. So the opposing side had to file the continuance on the grounds that my lawyer was having a medical emergency. So we didn't even know that she was denying the continuance until June 17th. Now, I didn't know at all, but on June 17th, she denied the continuance and had the hearing on the 22nd.
Okay, so you don't have an attorney now because you can't afford an attorney. I mean, obviously they've taken everything from you. You still have your bar, but you had to put it up for sale, correct?
Correct.
And you've gone to your congressman. Have you gone through those steps yet?
Can I touch on that?
Yeah.
This is insane because the worst part of all of this happening wasn't that it happened, Joe. It was that there was nowhere to go to get any help. So I wrote Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, a letter with supporting evidence. Please help me. I'm being racketeered again. Somebody told me that I should write Deborah Todd, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, a letter with supporting evidence. So I did that. 3 weeks after I did that, I found out that Deborah Todd and Josh Shapiro were indicted on racketeering charges. I said, Jesus, you can't make this up. I was asking for help from the highest stuff that I could go.
Josh Shapiro was indicted for racketeering?
Josh Shapiro is indicted on racketeering charges. So is the Chief Justice, Deborah Todd, of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. I got paperwork filed with the DOJ in Washington, D.C., Civil Rights Division, when Joe Biden was in administration. And then when Donald Trump took over, I said, thank God we finally have a real president. And I filed another case with the DOJ Civil Rights Division. To this day, not one of them, the FBI, the DOJ, the governor, the attorney general, nobody has paid me any mind or even care at all. That's why I'm standing at the door with my guns. Come and take something, I dare you. Joe, I don't want to die, but I don't know what to do here. I'm not going to allow these people to rape me and rob me.
So you've sent letters to everyone, and the government structure at every level has just failed to even hear you. But you have a house. So did they pay you for the $200,000 house?
I never got anything from them other than the initial payment, and then like maybe 4 payments of $600 a month. And then when they started committing the criminal activity, I started asking around. Legal people like lawyers and stuff said, you know what? You can't accept another penny from them. Not only are they violating the contract, they're committing criminal activity on the property. You are no longer in a contract with them. Terminate it. Find out how you legally terminate it and terminate it. And that's when I hired the first lawyer. Now, I left something out here that you didn't get to hear. When I filed for bankruptcy and they sent me my dismissal letter, I said, why would they dismiss my bankruptcy? I'm making my payments every month. I made my payments. Then the guy across the street here that has been in a battle with these people for 14 years just won $2.6 million in the Supreme Court against that corruption. So he said, you know why they're dismissing your bankruptcy? Because John Martin, the first lawyer that robbed you $1,000, he's one of the bankruptcy trustees. He's been a trustee for 37 years, and he kind of oversees everything. Now, his name might not be on your paperwork, but you better believe that he knows that your bankruptcy came in, and he remembers that you forced him to give him back $1,000. So that's why they're doing this. They're going to squeeze you and crush you for everything you got.
So what's the outcome now? What you don't have a lawyer now, and you haven't talked to your congressman yet.
No. I mean, right now, I haven't. I mean, I talked to the governor, to the attorney general, to the inspector general.
You've talked to Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania?
Yeah, that's who I first sent a letter to.
And he didn't do anything?
No, I said, because you better believe I Googled. I wanted to know who was responsible for protecting my civil rights. And that comes up with Josh Shapiro and the attorney general. They just ignored my case.
Okay, you still have a complaint with the Pennsylvania disciplinary board?
I do, because
what are they done with that?
Well, I just sent in a new case 2 weeks ago, no, about 3 weeks ago, against the new attorney that's levying against my estate, because I felt that it was an ethics violation for him to knowingly execute against my estate, knowing he had a bad judgment, and telling me right in the courtroom that he was selling all of my personal property and my guitars were going home with him. I felt that that was an ethics violation, so I filed with the disciplinary board against him. And
Phil, I'm still having a hard time believing that they came in and picked up your. I'm not having a hard time believing it happened because I know it happened. But they basically gave your house to these other people that never paid for it. So they have unlawful conveyance of property. They took something your hard-earned property, and they're like, here, I'm going to give it to you. And then they came back to you and said, on top of giving it to them, we're going to make you also pay off the mortgage. It just doesn't make sense.
That's exactly what happened.
So what was the legal remedy? What was the legal reason that they could do that?
The legal reason that they could do that was when I was the plaintiff, so I was taking them to court for breach. Now, I officially terminated the contract 8 months before.
Okay.
With the governor in Florida. I said, you're committing criminal activity on the property. You're building on the land without permits. This contract is terminated, and I terminated with them. So that whole 8 months, those people didn't vacate the property. They just continued to live there and continued to trying to get the property. So when my attorney when we filed for a breach of contract and the attorney had the stroke, it was from that point on allowed them to do all of this to me. And I believe the term is ab initio. And what that means is when the judge violated my 14th Amendment right to due process and legal counsel, she stepped outside of her jurisdiction to do any of this to me. Because there's something that's very important here. She has to abide by the law, and that is give me due process. You cannot be removed of life, liberty, or property without due process. I never went inside of a courtroom because my lawyer had a stroke. So now,
so you've never been inside of a courtroom. You didn't sit through anything like this. Your lawyer had a stroke. They're supposed to push out the court date, and then all of a sudden they came back and said, "No, we're just going to give the house to him."
Yeah,
they didn't undo any of that when they found out he had a stroke. Obviously, he was drooling on himself. I mean, people are having a hard time believing this, Phil. How is it that a system could be so corrupt that it would take the hard-earned money home from one individual, hand it to another one, and say, "Yeah, there's nothing we can do for you"?
You know what? It really hurt double because I wanted to hold those people responsible for what they were doing. I mean, this guy pulled a gun on me. They were throwing the trash in the neighbor's yard. They were building on the land without permits. I mean, these people were criminal. I wanted to hold them responsible. And the judge not only denied me the chance to hold those people responsible, she took everything and gave it to them.
Okay, so look, I've read through the case. I've read through all the documents. I've read through everything that we have, and it's still. I feel like there's a remedy that's here, but are they still chasing? So you said that the bankruptcy has been put off.
Well, it's still, I have to make my monthly payments and I have to pay them $50,000 by June. That's where
Okay.
we're at.
You have to pay
And I'm-
$50,000 to close out the bankruptcy in June.
Basically, it's pay them off. They want to be paid off. So this is what I think.
You filed a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, correct?
No, 13.
Chapter 13. Okay, all right.
No. I think that I need somebody to file a motion to strike and force the court to show that they had jurisdiction to do that. And when they go to show jurisdiction to do that, they're going to say, oh my God, this guy never came in a courtroom. We didn't even give him due process because his attorney had a stroke. Now, all of a sudden, the whole case falls apart. But I can't get that far.
Okay,
I
so
don't know how to file that.
okay, tell me about where you live, because we didn't get a chance to talk about this when we talked about it on the phone. Do you live in a small town, bigger town? Is it like I mean, Wayne County is kind of it's a Republican stronghold, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, a lot of Trumpers around here. You know, it's a Republican, but Pennsylvania is dominantly Democrat, especially when you get down towards Philadelphia area.
And not that makes a difference, because frankly, I think that Republican or Democrat, it shouldn't matter. But I mean,
Agreed.
yeah. So who's the DA? Let's talk there, guys. Get ready, get your pins ready, so I can get some of this stuff down. Who's the judge themselves?
The judge is Judge Janine Edwards. She's President Judge Janine Edwards. Now, it's funny that you brought up the DA, because I went to the DA twice, and I demanded to talk to the DA. And a woman came out of the office with a pad, took down my information, what it was about, and took my phone number and said somebody would be in touch. Nobody ever came in touch with me or contacted me, so I went back to the courthouse and went through the process again. I said, I demand to talk to the DA. They went through the whole thing again, and they completely blew me off again. And that was District Attorney Howell. I believe it's Howell.
Okay, so you have a district attorney that won't take a criminal complaint from you. You have a judge, Janine Edwards. Of course, she's a little lefty. Got it. Phil, what are you asking the people to do? By the way, have you set up like a Give, Send, Go or something where people can actually help you?
What, you mean like a GoFundMe or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started a GoFundMe. I'm not really sure how to use it. I mean, I had like $2,000 get put on there. I think maybe 10 people helped me, and it was about $2,000 put on there. And I have just transferred it to my account, so I'm waiting for it to get to my account.
All right, and is that a GoFundMe or a Give, Send, Go? Where is it on?
It's a GoFundMe.
You're gonna have people get mad at you for using GoFundMe. I'm just looking it up right now. Can you guys find it for me?
Now, I will say that when I posted my video, it was seen by almost 400,000 people. And I'm getting messages from people like, for instance, 2 days ago, was it 3 days ago, I went to the DMV to renew my license. The guy that pulled a handgun on me and stole my house walked into the DMV and sat across from me and started yelling that I was a pedophile to everybody in the DMV.
Okay, why would he do that?
That's what they're posting on my Moon Shadow Insight. This guy is a pedophile. He's been caught peeking in our windows. Well, last night a woman called me and she said, I saw your video. I live 2 houses down from these people. That guy kicked in my door when I went to work, robbed all my stuff, and then the next day he came over with an urn with my grandfather's ashes in it and tried to sell it back to me. And she said, I swung at him and we got in a fist fight and the guy beat me up. These are the people that we're dealing with here. But I can't get the police or anybody to do anything about it.
All right, who's the police chief? I got the judge. I'm going to call the judge. I'm literally going to reach out to the judge. We're going to reach out to the judge. Who's the DA there?
The DA is I think it's Howell.
Yeah, let's go through the AG Howell.
Yeah, AG Howell.
Okay, so we're going to reach out to AG Howell. You want to do that while we're on the phone? How do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about that? You want to call them right now while we have Phil on the phone? Who thinks in the comments we should call right now, like while we're on the phone? I'm looking at comments. Should we call while we're on the phone? Phil, we got lots of people that are watching you right now, just trying to figure out what's going on, and they can't believe it.
Well, I can show you the court transcripts where my attorney from the hospital bed wrote to the judge in the transcripts, how dare you hold the hearing without us and deny my client a full and fair trial? You know, that was a gross judicial statement. You know, it was. I can't even believe that it happened, and it's absolutely destroyed my life to this point.
Okay, so I'm going to dig deeper into this deal. I told you I would before. We've got a pretty good idea of it. I did reach out to your previous attorney. You don't have a current attorney now. Your previous attorney hasn't reached back out to me. There's 3 attorneys involved, right? Correct?
Well, let's see. The first one, that's John Martin. He's the trustee.
Now, the first one is now the trustee on your bankruptcy.
Well, he's not the name on my bankruptcy, but he oversees everything.
Okay.
He's been there 7 years. He's the top dog. And then you got the one that had the 2 strokes. I don't even know what condition that guy's in now. And then you got Brandon Ellis, the dirty lapdog that is executing against my estate, knowing that it's a poison judgment. He knows it. Okay.
So I'm going to reach out to the DA. I just sent an email to him just now. I'm going to reach out to the judge. Do I have your permission to do all this?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. So we're going to reach out. We're going to try and get some information. I'm going to try and get them on the record with me and ask questions about this case. Look, I don't. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I think the biggest part about this deal that bothers me is the fact that no matter what happens, they gave your home to someone else and then forced you to pay it off because an attorney didn't show up. Correct?
Correct. It was failure to appear.
So for a failure to appear, they charged you a $150,000 fine, basically. $180,000 with $30,000.
A lot more than that. My bar restaurant has been closed for 2 years. I had to file for bankruptcy. Do you know that?
Well, what's stopping you from reopening your bar?
Oh, geez, I couldn't even afford hamburger meat to open my bar. That's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can get something straight. I'm gonna pick up the phone with them and talk to them today. Actually, I probably won't get a chance to talk to them today just because of timing, but I'll get a hold of them first thing in the morning. I'll probably call you midday or tomorrow afternoon, and we'll try to figure it out. I do have some lawyer friends that are in Pennsylvania. I had a conversation with Stephanie on Friday, and she said, "Get me more information. Have some conversations with people. Let's see if we can get people to return to some sort of decency in this case." I do want to ask you to do one thing for me, though. I need you to read out who's your congressman in your area.
I think that's Rob Bresnahan. In fact, somebody called and said he's going to be at a get to know or meet and greet tomorrow, and that I should attend it. But I'm having vehicle problems right now, and I got to go try to find a beater so I can at least get to the courthouse and file a restraining order against this guy, because now he's riding by my hotel and posting pictures of it online, and he's messaging my daughter that he's got a gun and he's going to kill people. So I got to get some kind of restraining order against this person.
Okay, so this guy is Rob Bresnaha. Bresnaha? Hana?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to reach out to him as well, and I'll just send him over what I have. Phil,
Okay.
We do have the GoFundMe. Go ahead and put it up if you would. Here's the GoFundMe. It kind of walks through your story. Let me see if I can read a little bit of it. Raising money for Phil Lather out of Pennsylvania to help with attorney's fees. He has been fighting a corrupt court system and attorneys. He once went to court with his son during COVID. Masks were required, but the judge in the courtroom wasn't wearing one. Is this the same judge, by the way?
Yeah, it's the same judge. And there's two different GoFundMes. That one somebody created, but it's the other one. It's the other one that says help Philip, not Phil. Now, I want to point out something out when you said, is this the same judge? That's what another attorney said to me. He said, are you telling me that the judge issued a $30,000 judgment against you when you already filed complaints with the judicial board and the conduct board, which is like, I guess it's called a conflict of interest. You know, it's a retaliation thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more concerned about the criminal activity of how everyone's kind of covered this up. So I just found and gave you let's put this one up if we can. This one is, we'll put it out there, GoFundMe.com/F/support-Phillips-fight-against-fraud-and-corruption. We'll just put it out there on the underneath the show. And this goes through kind of the things that you're actually going through right now. It looks like that people have made some pretty good donations, $2,054. Phil, we'll do everything we can to support you. We are our brother's keeper. I told you that when I was on the phone. I did have a little bit of problem getting access to some of the documentation in the court. I felt like the file was empty, but I think that we'll find a way to get to the bottom of it. We'll talk. I mean, I'll send a thing to the DA. We'll have a conversation with the DA. You need to continue to fight, but you can't fight by doing the things that you're doing as far as saying you're going to shoot your way out of it, right? When's your court date for the bankruptcy?
The court date already happened. That was on the 13th of February, and that was the amendment was keep paying your $816 a month, and you have to pay $47,000 or $48,000 by June.
Okay. Well, I mean that's a better outcome. Is the $48,000 include the $30,000 for the house, or is that all absolved up in the bankruptcy?
Yeah, that's all. When I filed for bankruptcy, it took 2 of my credit cards too and put it on there. So it's that $32,000 to pay off their house.
So basically, this has just wrecked your life.
Oh, absolutely destroyed my life. I mean, all you have to do is see that they held the hearing, a one-sided hearing. I never even went inside of a courtroom, Joe. My lawyer had 2 strokes, and the judge wouldn't continue it. And I never even went inside the courtroom. I didn't even have a chance here.
All right. Well, we'll get to the bottom of it, Phil. We'll get some people to actually give you some donations, and we'll see what we can do to help you. I'm sorry that you're going through this. By the way, this story that we're telling you right now with Phil is it's not an abnormal story. And for the person that just wrote down, there has to be something more to the story. I brought Phil on because there wasn't any more to the story. Just so you know. Like, I went through it. I couldn't find any more. I couldn't find any there. I couldn't find anything, Phil, that showed me that you did anything, that you beat someone. It's quite the opposite, actually. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of it and try to think to myself how a judge can do this to a man who's been paying into the system for, 50 years?
I'm a single dad of 2 children. I raised my children by myself. They didn't even see their mother for 20 years. I built myself to having the oldest historical hotel in Wayne County, Pennsylvania. And now I can't open it because they're robbing everything I own. It's insane.
Let's solve one problem at a time, right? But are you in your bar right now? Is that where you are right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like a beautiful place.
It is. It's absolutely beautiful place. I wish I could get it open, Joe.
Well, maybe we'll be able to work on that too. I've been known to be in the restaurant business from time to time. All right, Phil, thanks for getting on with me. God bless you, brother. We'll be in touch in the next couple days, and we'll give everybody an update of what's going on with you as well. So this is just another example of how a rotted system can basically steal from an American what was never theirs to take. God bless you, Phil.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right. Imagine. So this is where I talk about the sharp edge of the sword. You actually don't know that any of this exists until you find yourself in the middle of it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's real. It's real. And then you try to tell people about it and they go, you must have done something wrong. It's the first thing that everyone says. It's the first thing that they say. No, Joe. What did you do wrong? Because the system is given the benefit of the doubt. But when the system is so rotted to the core and has done this so many times to so many people, it just gets to the point where you have to at some point say, how do we fix it? So one by one, we're going to try and fix it. We're going to try and fix it for Phil. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, oh my gosh, we're going to just talk to you about voter ID, the fact that now they've just made up all of this stuff. They've made it all up related to you can't have voter ID, you can't have no machines, can't have no mail-in ballots, because if you had all those things, then somewhere along the line people could be disenfranchised. But they don't care about that. They care about fraud. We'll be right back. In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle. You know, I was, before we go into that, I want to tell you guys I went to Sterling, Colorado on Saturday. on Valentine's Day. And I drove 2.5 hours to Sterling, Colorado. And you've heard me talk about the not just even the state of Colorado's GOP, but the local GOPs, and some of them have been incredibly gracious. You have, Phillips County was amazing, Douglas County was amazing. There's just a bunch of really good GOPs that are out there. And so as you're going through asking questions and going through debates and forums, there's an amazing amount of respect. I went to Durango, went to a debate up there with Heidi and all, put that on. But I went to Sterling, and I walked in, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Now, before I got there, if I'm being honest, and I do want to say thank you for inviting me for the 4 minutes that I was there for a 2.5 hour drive, to hear them basically gush all over themselves, give out themselves awards in the environment. Before I showed up there, I got a couple phone calls from a couple people who were Republicans in Sterling, Colorado, and they said, "You know what, Joe? This is a good old boy area. And the reason why people don't participate in the GOP in this area is because it's run by people who basically run the Mean Girls Club." And I was like, I'll be fine. I'll go out there. It'll be great. And so I took my friend Gordon. My friend's 89 years old. And, 6 years ago when Gordon and I when all this stuff happened with Dominion, I was at his cabin when all this stuff happened. And so I was sitting at this table, and Gordon says, "Yeah, this all started with me, like at my cabin." And I was sitting with a couple of really good people, Steve and his wife, who are a part of the Phillips County GOP. Amazing people, great, gracious people. And we sat right up front, and I went over and tried to talk to a few people, and I thought that this was, 150 people from the community. And then the gentleman that was running the meeting stood up and said, "I want to recognize all the people in the room that are serving." And so by the time he was done, out of the 150 people, there was probably 10 people that were there that weren't a part of the family of the people that are in some sort of position. And I was like, I shook my head and I went, okay, that checks. This is what they were talking about. No one wants to participate in this. So they had all the people there. Now, that didn't bother me as much as being given 4 minutes. So articulate your plan for 4 minutes. Now, all the things that they talked about all night had nothing to do with what people cared about. Like what happens inside of these GOP meetings is not shared by anyone in the real world, right? So, and even some of the things that like Barb Kirkmeyer said, or some of the other candidates said, made a lot of sense to me. But here's what happened. You get one guy that gets up, he speaks, he's running for governor. And then I thought, okay, well, they'll go in some sort of order. Barb was in front of me, she would go. And then they called this guy up to go to talk about running for governor. And I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was a nutball. He was a nutball. I mean, you want to talk about, they did not, again, I drove 2.5 hours, and a lot of the things that they talked about and they joked about, other than the sheriff, by the way, in that area. The sheriff is retiring. I think he spent almost 30 years as the sheriff out there, super nice guy. He's retiring, he's moving on. And you could tell he legitimately, when somebody brings him a law that he thinks is unjust, he's like, I'm just not gonna enforce it. We're not enforcing that in this county, right? Straight up, really good guy. But the other things that they said were slights to people in the community. And I was a little bit taken back. And then when they had this guy get up and he started talking, and he got 4 minutes to speak, and he talked about he's just a weirdo. right? And maybe Gray Ginsburg or whatever his name is, he's running for governor. That he stood up, and you could have saved yourself the 4 minutes. So then I got up right after they're like, oh yeah, Joe Oltmann, you go next. So imagine being in a circus, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the circus, they're like, hey, we rode this purple dinosaur around a little bit and had to do funny tricks. And now, by the way, be serious and come talk to these people. So I stood up there and I was like, I don't even know. I said it out loud because this is what I do. I said, I don't even know how to follow that. And then because I have a problem with regurgitating the truth, I go, I don't want to be here. Like, again, if you want to get me to say some things that you probably don't want to hear, put me in a position where you create a clown show and then have me speak. Because then I'm just concentrating on why am I even here? So the whole time I'm saying, why am I here? Because frankly, if I'd have known it was 4 minutes, I probably wouldn't have shown up, right? But then I get up there and I was like, I don't want to be here. I think the entire way that we look at elections at electing people is laughable. All of our elections are stolen. We had a county clerk and recorder in there that I'd just gotten a report on who said, yes, I think I still support Tina Peters being in jail for 9.5 years. She was in the room. So I had a room full of some good people, but there was no people from the community there. I wasn't talking to the community. So I spent an hour and a half eating some food, spending $70 on a meal for Gordon to get sandwiched between two people that are not serious candidates for governor. And then Barb gets up there and says, I do want to be here, takes her jab at me, which I'm not even done taking jabs. I think I've had enough of Barb Kirkmeyer taking jabs at me. I think I've had enough. I've tried to be nice about it. I'm no longer going to be nice. She has an F rating as a conservative. She really just, frankly, does not have the talent or the ability to be governor of anything. And when you go along with the Democrats and then tell me somewhere along the line, you're the gal that we should actually put in the office when you betrayed the people that put you there by going along to get along with the Democrats, yeah, that's business as usual. That's not surprising that on the surface she's supported by people like Bill Owens, the radical leftist that tries to tell everyone that he's a GOP and the only Republican governor to only be elected to office in the last 30 years. That's true, but that's because he wasn't a Republican. So after being there for 3 hours, gotten to speak for 4 minutes, the guy stands next to me, and right at 3 minutes and 45 seconds, he says, you have 20 seconds. Didn't wait till 4 minutes. Walked over while I'm speaking, and I was like, hold on a minute. And then I thought about it for a minute. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm sitting in a room full of haves. People that have pushed out people in the community for the GOP. And I heard about that from other people in Sterling that said the GOP here is largely controlled by a bunch of people who bully and shit all over people in their community. And I was like, well, that checks. That's what I experienced when I went there. Completely, including the people that run the GOP there. So when I was leaving, there was a Senate candidate, he's a nice guy, he's a pastor. He walks up to me and said, what do you think? And I was like, I think this is a joke. I think this is the reason why we keep losing in the GOP. You know why we lose? Because we have shit people that are more concerned about themselves and self-gratifying themselves and having a position of power and authority than they are about caring about anything about other people in their community. And this is what we have to deal with in not only the state of Colorado, but around the country. Anyway, it was sad. It was sad. And then I went home thinking to myself, I spent Valentine's Day with a bunch of people that frankly, I have no regard for. So thanks for the invite. I'll never go back to Sterling. I won't. Now, all right, let's play the C1 cut.
About 83% of the American people, including majority Democrats, support voter ID laws.
Well, yeah, the voter ID laws that, first, each state can have its own voter ID laws, and some do and some don't. But secondly, what they are proposing in this so-called SAVE Act is like Jim Crow 2.0. They make it so hard to get any kind of voter ID, that more than 20 million legitimate people, mainly poorer people and people of color, will not be able to vote under this law. We will not let it pass in the Senate. We are fighting it tooth and nail. It's an outrageous proposal that is, that shows the sort of political bias of the MAGA right. They don't want poor people to vote. They don't want people of color to vote because they often don't vote for them.
All right, so let me tell you how absurd what he's saying is and how much of a lie it is. You can't go anywhere, you can't do anything without an ID. In all 50 states, there is a provision that will allow you to get an ID, and it costs you $0. They have a fund for it. There's not 20 million people in the entire country right now. There's not 2 million people. There's not 1 million people in the country that don't have an ID. Not 1 million. In the entire country, there's not 1 million people that don't have an ID. You can't get Social Security, you can't get benefits, you can't buy alcohol, you can't get anything without an ID. And then you have a tranny state rep opposing the state law in New Hampshire that would ban. I don't even know what to say. There's literally, we spend all of our time allowing trash people to destroy the very foundation of what we are as a country. And you got this tranny that opposes a law that would ban a man from using a woman's restroom because we want to legalize abortion, so we kill black and brown babies. Which, if I told you that number, it would blow your mind. So just so you know, illegals that come here account for less than 2% of abortions that exist across any sort of spectrum. Illegals, like people that come here from other countries. 47% of abortions in the state of Colorado are black babies. So they're genociding literally the black population that are citizens. While, by the way, giving the illegals free health care and free child care. And now you got this rep who's a man pretending to be a woman that wants to ban men from using. He says, it's not going to happen. Here, go ahead and listen to this.
So, to start off, what restroom should I go to? In the State House. Where do you want me? Men's room. Do you want me in the men's room?
Yeah.
I don't want me in the men's room. I haven't been in the men's room in 6 years. But I'm a trans woman. And let's say this law passes, and the House decides we're going to enforce a bathroom policy here at the State House, and I'm not going into the men's room. I'll tell you that right now. I am more likely to be assaulted in the men's room. Statistically, trans women, when forced to go into the men's room, are, I believe it's somewhere along the lines of at least 4 times as likely to be assaulted. We are the people who are being targeted here. And the testimony before makes absolutely no sense, because if I walk into the women's room, and even if somebody points at me and says, I think you're trans, how in the hell are they going to prove that? I'll give you my driver's license. It says female. Like, what do you want from me? Do you want me to strip down? What if I just say, no, I'm not trans? People are dying. I have had to console too many grieving mothers and fathers to count. Please stop making more of them. Dear God. That's my testimony, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
People are dying. Okay, let me tell you what people are dying of. Fentanyl overdose. Assault. Rape, murder. People are dying. And you say people are dying because they won't be let into the men's restroom, and they're 4 times more likely to be assaulted in a men's room if you're a tranny? No, it's just not true. And look, let me explain something to you. I have a gay, married, Jewish, father of two is my business partner. One of my best friends. I'd do anything for him. Anything. He's amazing. 14 years. Super good dude. Matthew Shepard, when he was tied to a fence post in Wyoming, I thought it was wrong what they did. I think we all did. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the fact that women are being assaulted in women's bathrooms by men pretending to be women. So you got a man pretending to be a woman that goes into a women's bathroom and assaults women, which means he knows that he has a penis and he still likes women, but wants to get into a position where he has the ability to be around women. I don't know how much sicker it can be. And the fact that you tell me that I got to say that you're a woman, I don't think you're a woman. I think you're a man. And no matter what you say to me, it's still false advertising. But this is what I mean when I say we have to debate the ridiculous. It's like we were talking about Phil earlier. I mean, this guy just literally had a house and he wanted to sell it and he goes to do it and these guys talk him into it and he goes to court and then a calamity of errors. The attorney doesn't do what he's supposed to do or does what he's supposed to do and the court rejects it and says, no, we're just going to hand this house over to these people that don't deserve it. It's like letting people out of jail to commit crimes against people and saying, yeah, but we want to make sure that everyone's bail eligible. Why? Because the courts are packed. So instead of actually addressing the problem, which here is mental illness and grooming and indoctrination that's happening inside of our schools, and you can say, well, Joe, that's not happening. It's not. You got a freaking gay flag on the wall around children that frankly question everything about what their body looks like. Adults question their body and what it looks like. You don't think kids that are just coming up are like, oh, look, now my ball's dropped. And we want to take that opportunity at that time to say, you know what, you might not be a boy. Or maybe it takes them longer to go through puberty and they're like, man, I think you should probably explore this. You might be a girl because it's taken you too long. Or maybe your body's a little weird shape, so maybe you're a cat. We need to put a litter box in the corner for you. They're literally grooming our children. And we don't say anything about it. And this lunatic gets up there and says, what bathroom am I supposed to use? The men's bathroom? Well, I'm not using that. Well, then go outside and pee in the bush. You got a wanker? Go pee in the bush. You can pee standing up. Last time I checked, the toilet looks the same in both. Better yet, just make it a family bathroom. Men and women can use it. One toilet. Go use that. We'll even allow you to be mentally ill. How about that? We'll allow you to continue to be mentally ill as long as you stay away from normal people and stop thinking that your rights supersede the rights of other people to feel comfortable in their environment. Well, I want to feel comfortable. I don't care what you want. I don't. I'm not going to sacrifice the 99 for the one person that wants to go in a woman's bathroom. That's normal. See what I just said? That's normal. The same way that we actually legalize fentanyl, legalize prostitution. And you see the whole thing behind the legalizing prostitution is, well, we don't want to put people in jail for selling their body. No, what you want to do is promote selling your body so that women can get degraded even further than what they're degraded now. You let men in their bathrooms, you say that, hey, sell your body, it's okay. We're going to strip you from opportunity so that you are driven to a place where the only way that you can eat is if you sell your body. Do you know how foolish this sounds? It's stupid. We put porn books in the classrooms in second grade. I mean, who? And then the school boards try to justify it. But when a parent stands up and starts reading from the book, they're like, don't read that. Like, what are you talking about? Don't read it. You're letting a second grader read it. And no matter how much we stand up and fight for it, man, let me tell you something. I was in Durango on Friday. I flew to Durango, had a great debate. It was amazing. Got to hang out with some really good candidates. Kirkmeyer didn't show up because Kirkmeyer set up Scott Bottoms with the 9 News guys. Let's ambush them here. It'll be good for me. While she laughed about the fact that pedophilia is running rampant inside of our legislature in the state of Colorado and said, oh, I think he's lying about it. How? You're trying to legalize it. The legislature right now in Colorado is trying to legalize the fact that if you're a pedophile, you can get probation. Make it make sense to me. On Friday, when I was in Durango, I had a guy sit there and tell me, he goes, you know what? There's nothing we can do. We go up there, we go to the school board, we try to tell them, we try to do all this stuff. And I'm like, why are you negotiating? Just walk in there, tail their damn flags down. And then make a writing of every single teacher in there with their address and read it to them. So you live at 1075 Main Street. And he's like, well, yeah, we can get in trouble. I said, are you afraid to go to jail? He goes, yeah. I'm like, get away from me then. You're a paper tiger. You don't really care about the kids then. You're not about this life. Everyone wants to say that they're a patriot, so you got to do patriot things. Then all of a sudden it's, maybe I'm just kind of not a patriot. I just like to. It's the same thing that happens in the Colorado GOP. Everybody wants to get rid of Britta Horn. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but it all comes down to the same thing. It checks. Everyone wants to be tough when you're online and you're like doing this, but when you got to get out there in the real world and hold people to those consequences, no, we'll let President Trump handle it. Oh, and then when Pam Bondi doesn't do what you want her to do, you're like, that treacherous little, I can't believe she did that. I'm thinking to myself, what are you? Like, where are we right now? I mean, this isn't real life. Come on. But this is what we get. And we see this slow boil. We see what's happening in Colorado. We see the fact that they lie to us about everything. We're afraid to say anything. And I told the guy this. I was like, go in there and tear the flags down. Grab 200 men from the community. Oh, we just nothing was happening, so we just gave up. Then you're a bunch of pussies. Then you really don't care about your country or your community. And I'm tired of everybody saying the fact that, what can we do? You got 2 hands, 2 legs. You don't have to be violent, but you can definitely use force. And if the pink-haired gobbly monster with a nose ring that looks like it came out of a cow's face goes to teach the kids something other than math and science and English, you run her out of town. Well, it'll cause a conflict. What the hell did you think it was going to cause? But we're conveniently tolerant on stuff we shouldn't be tolerant about, and we negotiate on it. And then you got a bunch of people stand up and says, I got to stand up for trans rights. No, you don't. You just got to be a good person. Look, if you want to be a pink elephant, be a pink elephant. I don't care. But you leave our damn children alone. And you go into a bathroom. If it swings, you go in that one. And if it doesn't swing, you go in that one. And if you have trouble with both of those, there's a bathroom that's for retarded people. You can just go in that bathroom. But then I get blasted for saying these things. I get blasted for the obvious. We don't have to cater to, nor do you things that you say that want to do good because it makes you feel good, they don't end up doing good. You destroy the community. Let's normalize drugs. Okay, that worked out really well. Now the homeless population in the state of Colorado has ballooned by 900%. And by the way, we spent $1.6 billion on it in 2025 and have zero to show for it. That's an average of $64,000 for every single person on the street. 64 grand they spent on the people. Do they look like they have $64,000 spent on them? That's more than $5,000 a month per homeless person. Please tell me where you can show me $1.6 billion with a B, state of Colorado, that went towards homeless people. No, it didn't go towards where it should have. You know where it went? It went into these fatso's pockets because it was just a bunch of grift that they used to then reinstitute or give to NGOs that are then used to fight against the very people that are trying to normalize normal. Make it make sense. In nearly 30 states in this country, in nearly 30 states, you have Republicans that are fighting against common sense laws that would make transparency the norm in elections. 30 states. You have ranked choice voting up in Alaska, which, by the way, you cannot audit. You can't audit it. It's tap on your head, rub on your belly, turn to the left, turn to the right. It's like a cheat code if you're playing with an old Nintendo. That's the reality. And they said, no, the people wanted ranked choice voting. The people never wanted ranked choice voting. The population out there with the special interests and the lobbyist groups who want to make it so complicated that they get to put whoever they want in a position of trust and authority because you're just nothing but a slave. And now we're in that place now. And I'm talking about the people in Colorado. You probably should, you're not going to like what I have to say if you like Victor Marx. And if you listen to me and you like Victor Marx, I'm okay with it. I don't care. I just don't think you're very bright. I think you walk past all these details, and someone said something to me today. Someone said something to me today that resonated as to why people would support Vaughn Kennedy, AKA Victor Marx. Why people would support him. Let me read it to you. Ready? Ryan, you sent this to me. There is no hate like a Christian's love. Let me say that again. There is no hate like a Christian's love. What do I mean by that? Well, you want to know why people have bad things to say about Christians? Because they do it to each other, by the way. And they're willing to stand up for a guy that says he's Christian, even though he's not. Because they'll beat you to death with Jesus, won't they? I'm not beating anybody to death with Jesus. I mean, I get beat to death if I say a bad word. And yeah, I should probably choose my words better than I do, and I use it as a point of frustration. But here's the reality. We should be looking for something different than a candidate that every one of the other candidates that have betrayed us for so many years say that's the person we should follow. Well, he raised $1 million for a primary. He spent almost all of it, by the way. So he raised $1 million for a primary, to find a Republican candidate. And then he goes and he won't debate anyone. He changes his name at 18, tells everyone he spent 3 years in the military. He spent 9 months. He barely made it through. They tried pushing him through. He says he protected and saved 45,000 women and children. That's what he said. His words, that he has saved 45,000 women and children. And guess what? There's not one example of the 45,000 women and children. But it's Victor Marx, right? He says he can take a gun away from someone that points it out. He's a 7th degree black belt. Oh, but then again, he's not a 7th degree black belt either. That's not true. He talked of stories about his wife going into conflict zones and wearing plate carriers and going out and playing kamikaze in places that are dangerous. Well, just so you know, it's not allowed. There's also the State Department requirements for going into areas of conflict if you're going to go anywhere, that you have a duty to report. And if you go into states that are sanctioned countries, you have a duty to report to OFAC, Office of Foreign Asset Control, and make sure you give no material support to terrorists or any organization thereof. You're required to make sure at every turn that as representing anyone in the United States, there are rules, there are ROEs you have to adhere to. He doesn't adhere to any of them. Somewhere along the line, he doesn't even know what they are. There are people that are out there supporting Victor Marx because you have people that are in the establishment that said, that's my guy. And I didn't even know to get involved in this whole conversation about Victor Marx. But it falls along the same lines. We debate the ridiculous. We want to take a guy that goes into a church and talks about how he did all of these things and shot someone when he was 7 and he had multiple brain injuries and he's bipolar and his wife says he kicks holes in walls once a year and his own daughter had nothing but bad things to say about him, and then frankly, you have people running away from him. But because people stand him up and make him sit on a stage with a pastor and talk about Jesus, that's the guy you want to run the governor's office. And I don't care if you vote for me. I could care less. Here's why I'm in the race. I'm in the race because at some point we got to start talking about what the people want, not what special interest lobbyists or a bunch of slobs that have been in politics for 30 years want. And if you want real change, you don't do it on the backs of saying, like so many people online, these little bots, you don't do it by this idea of saying, well, because he repeats over and over again, I'm not a politician. Well, he won't answer any questions. I'm not a politician. Yeah, I can't answer those questions. I can't go to debates. All my questions need to be pre-sent to me so that I can go through and rehearse them before I go out and do anything. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Joe Biden. And for those of you that aren't in Colorado, check out Victor Marks. His real name is Vaughn Kennedy, who then lied about his sister-in-law and said it was his sister-in-law when it was actually his sister, and his brother-in-law that shot at him through the RV on his property. He left that out, that it was actually his brother-in-law, his wife's brother, who then conveniently a couple months later went and murdered someone in California. These are the types of people that Victor Marks hangs out with. And these are the people that we want to put. He writes a book called Dangerous Gentlemen. In it, he describes himself perfectly. And I will say this as I get into all the other things we're going through. Right now, the radical left is scrambling. So they've got to find people that they can put in the Republican Party that literally are their insiders, people that they can stand up, people like Victor Marks in Colorado for governor. And by the way, if you don't like me for governor, that's fine. There's another guy named Scott Bottoms who is absolutely amazing. He was a pastor, also worked in his legislature for 4 years. Before that, he was in the military. And frankly, he's been one of the most consistent people you're going to find. Good choice. Barb Kirkmeyer has an F rating. As far as she's voted with the Democrats, she might as well just change her affiliation. And Scott talks about the things that we should be talking about. The 40% of our population that I talk about that are most important to me. They're the poorest. And by the way, if you want examples of people that I have saved over the last 20 years, I've had them on the podcast. I've had them. I've literally had them sit here. People that I've served. One works for me. I have people that have gone to college on me. And everybody says, well, Joe, you got to talk more about that stuff. No, I don't. Why would I brag about things that God asked me to do to begin with? He's like, serve your fellow man, be your brother's keeper. So that's what I do. But let me just tell you what's happening. Let me tell you what's happening that is coming to the United States. We have a radical group of Islamists that are taking advantage of our system. It's not just the Somalis doing it, it's others. And I'm not talking about people who are Muslim, and you could say there is no difference between the two, and I would tell you that's a foolish way to look at things. I know plenty of Muslim followers of Jesus that literally carry their own weight, do everything by the book. They love God, they love Jesus. Those are legitimately good people, and that's a large population of Muslims that live in the United States. And you have a larger set of population of people that are imams and sheikhs that live here, that have 8 row houses down the row, that get money from the government for each one of their homes. They have 4 or 5 kids per house, 8 wives. This is not a joke. This is real. And then these people come in there and they basically create environments like Dearborn, Michigan, where they can basically push everyone out and put whatever laws they want in place. See, in places like Colorado, there is no, it's a lawless society. The judiciary is rotted to the core. It's a bunch of radicals. These are activists. These are not good people. These are terrible people. But I want to show you what happened to a pastor in England. This is what's coming to us here if we don't start actually rejecting the ridiculous and telling them to get the hell out. We don't care. Like, if you want to be a pink dinosaur, be a pink dinosaur, but you're going to use the bathroom that you were born with, period. We're not changing driver's licenses. We're not doing any of that. And we don't care if you like it. By the way, if you want access to a psychologist, we think that's a great idea. Make asylums great again. Play it.
You really need to consider the eyewitness account. Can you put it in front of me? I've got a heart problem. Sorry. Okay. I will suffocate. He's got a heart problem. When I do that, young man, you're making a big mistake. You're making a big mistake. You're not checking eyewitnesses. We have recordings. We have recordings. You have recordings. We've got witnesses around our week. No, you're making a big mistake. You're taking one witness account over another. You're circumstances arrested. We've got multiple reports that you have been inciting religious hate.
All right, so we have a Grok. This is the Grok summary of the incident. It involves Pastor Dia Moodley. He was arrested in Bristol, UK in November of 2025 on suspicion of inciting religious... Okay, you're going to go past it? I was reading it. There it is. There we go. A suspicion of inciting religious hatred under the Public Order Act. He was street preaching on difference between Christianity and Islam and affirmed sex as binary. He was held for 8 hours. Bail conditions later dropped. The case is ongoing. The ADF International supports him, citing free speech concerns. Mainstream outlets like BBC have not covered it. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? And then here's something. There's this woman in Maryland who called the CPS against Calvert County High School students at their school. Play it.
A report was made to Child Protective Services. All of this was provided. In December of 2025, Turning Point USA hosted an event marketed to high school students with food and beverages advertised as an incentive for attendance. While community building opportunities for students are important, this event raises serious concerns related to student safety, parental rights, and governance oversight. Event materials indicated that adults, including parents and legal guardians, were not permitted to attend and that supervision would be provided by unnamed volunteers. Excluding parents and guardians from a student-focused event creates a lack of transparency and undermines established best practices for youth safety. School-affiliated or school-adjacent activities should adhere to clear supervision standards, background check requirements, and defined accountability structures. I am also concerned about a potential conflict of interest involving Board of Education members serving as guest speakers at this event. Board members are entrusted with fiduciary and ethical responsibilities, and participation in events targeting students, particularly when parental access is restricted, warrants careful review to ensure compliance with district policies, ethics guidelines, and public trust obligations. Students are widely recognized as vulnerable population. They are in critical developmental stages and especially susceptible to influence. For this reason, safeguarding measures, parental involvement, and transparency are essential. All Board of Education members in this room are mandated reporters under state law, as I am. Based on the circumstances surrounding this event, a report was made to Child Protective Services. All of this was provided along with...
Thank you for your comments.
She's a Montgomery County public health nurse. Now, she said a few things that are true. Youth are described as a vulnerable population, that they can be influenced. And yet you have pride flags on the wall, and you take away the Pledge of Allegiance, and you force them into a position. By the way, there's Satan clubs in Montgomery County, Maryland. Satan's clubs. She called CPS. We are in big trouble. We are in big trouble. The line, by the way, which you're going to hear about now, this is a guy that is liberal that moved from Pittsburgh to Portland, Oregon, right? Liberal city to liberal city. And then he figured out something about himself pretty quick. Play it.
Alrighty, y'all. I moved to Portland, Oregon about 4 years ago from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Before I left Pittsburgh, I considered myself pretty far left, and then like COVID happened, and then I moved to Portland and saw what far left really looked like, and I feel like the left has lost all common sense at this point. But all that being said, like being in Portland, I truly feel like I'm in a twilight zone every day. Like it really exposes like how ugly the far left can really be, because it's what I'm surrounded by on a daily basis. Like they're totally fine with walking past homeless people that are in tents, that are having like mental breakdowns right in the middle of the street, and acting like, oh, that's normal, this happens in every city, like I just happen to walk by it every day to go get my latte, no big deal. And it's like, dude, I thought the left was supposed to be empathetic. I thought the left cared about the environment, because if you look at what the homeless population out here alone just does for the environment, it's pretty insane. But all that being said, like I feel like all the morals have went out the window. All like the things that like y'all truly fought for went out the window. Now it's all about like protesting Tesla, hating Trump, and like fighting for men to have babies or something. Like it's literally crazy out here. And I know like I should have known this moving out here, but I really thought like, you know, we'd have some common ground, considering like I used to be like one of you. But if anything, it just turns me further to the right, seeing how people act out here, seeing like the point of privilege everybody has too. It's literally insane. Like if you don't believe what they believe, then you're a piece of shit. And like it's just a total la la land, and it's crazy to me that it's been normalized. And I think like Portland is a perfect example of why things shouldn't be far left, and why we need to like kind of come back to common ground somewhere. So you can bitch at me all you want, but you know I'm right, and you know there's plenty of people that think the same way as me. And Portland's just becoming a hub of mental illness and a place for people to go to just be weird. And it's not the good kind of weird. It's the type of weird that needs like medical attention. Let's talk about it.
Well, there you go. There's a liberal that says he's liberal, and he found out that liberal is not that liberal. This is why I say that 90% of the country, you can say you're liberal, you can say you're conservative. That's not the same as being a radical leftist. It's not the same. And you can't say, and the reason why people are going this direction is because they want to fight against something. Like they can see it. They can see that something is wrong, fundamentally wrong, but they can't put their finger on it. And if you try telling them what it is that they're putting their finger on, and it's not a radical leftist idea, they won't accept it. What do we got here? Antifa are terrorists. I agree with you. The woman is a setup. I don't know what you're talking about. She is our problem. Dancer, I agree with you. Teresa said, come near my kids or grandkids, I'll punch you in the throat. Unfortunately, Teresa, if they go to school, then they're already in the middle of it. They're already in the middle of it. Yeah, it's crazy. All right. What was I talking about? I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, I was talking about the craziness. Yeah. We're in that weird place where up is down and down is up. We're afraid to actually talk about it. We don't want to fight for our children. We want to talk about it all the time. And we don't want to risk anything. So God forbid you go to jail, because they've already proven that people on the right, they'll throw you in jail for 2 years before you go to trial. They'll strip you and do the things that is happening with this Kabuki case with Coomer, which I don't even care about anymore. I mean, like I was talking to my lawyers, and I mean, it's absurd that we're even having this conversation. I know that these people are going to be arrested. It's just a matter of time, and I wait for that. And I'm waiting for the day that I have to go into court and be like, okay, now what are we going to do with Coomer? Coomer's got an international arrest warrant. We got to get him back on U.S. soil. And, you know, we still going to go forward on this case? Please bring him here. We are afraid to stand up against these radicals. And even when the radicals, they'll bring in a little bit of truth. That woman said that these are vulnerable parts of our society. And yet, when they go to have the argument the other way about getting rid of pride flags and actually letting kids be kids, let them grow up to be whatever they're going to grow up to be. And if they grow up to be gay, okay, they grow up to be gay. God, they can deal with them and their maker. But when you force people into something, And I do believe, by getting back to this, I do believe kids want to be, even adults, they want to rebel against something. Well, let me just tell you what you're rebelling against. You're a slave. You haven't figured out you're a slave yet. Go watch the movie Ants. You're the ant. Good. You're the useful idiot that the grasshoppers get to tell to do everything that they want to do. You're the have-nots. And every now and then you might get a few ants that get promoted up to be with the haves, and all of a sudden they betray the very people that they're there to represent, and they forget where they came from. That's the reality of where we are. And it's a dangerous place to be because a lot of people are pissed off and they're done with it. But you have more people that are empathetic and say, oh, you know, we'll just get along to go along to get along. It's not that bad. A bug's life. That's right. A bug's life. It's crazy. All right. I got to go because I have a friend that's here to see me. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, tune in and more. Thanks for joining me today. Today's kind of an off day. It's Monday. I've spent the last couple of days going to different environments. You'll later on get a recording of me and Chaz, who is an independent candidate that's running for governor as well. I brought him in. He has some really good ideas, but yeah, pretty good stuff. All right, let's pray it out. Jeff asked, how was your surgeries going? Good. 2 down, 2 to go. And they're big ones. The ones coming up are pretty big. So we'll see. Danster Clatter said Antifa just killed a French kid who was helping at a woman rally speech, speaking about the race and men in their areas. What? Where is that? Hey, Danster, can you put that in there, please? Put the actual thing you're talking about in there. I'd appreciate it. Yeah. By the way, I think that Eric Coomer or one of his friends watches every one of my episodes. So maybe he'll learn something. Maybe he'll learn something. Like TikTok, time's almost up. Oh, wait, I'm waiting for Danster to put it in there. Danster, put it in there. I'm going to pray us out. Put it in the link to whatever that story is. All right, Father God, thank you for having me here today. Thank you for just the many people in our community that are fighting. Father, we are grateful for the blessings that you have in our lives, the people you've put in our lives, the opportunity we have to do great things, to help our brothers and sisters. We recognize that we're in a fight for our lives. We're in a fight for humanity. And Father, we lay it before you and ask you that whatever your will be done, and we're here to stand and to speak and to act and to return those things back to you. We recognize that there are a lot of people that call themselves liberal that feel the same way we do. They feel left out, they feel lost, they feel betrayed. Help us, Father, that we can set aside the R and the D and the independent and all that stuff and just get to a place where we can work the problem together and give the communities what they deserve and what they need. Help us that we may be patient and humble in our engagements, and we may push ourselves to just be good examples of what we should do instead of there is no hate like a Christian's love. We know we see it all the time. And frankly, Father, I'm probably guilty of it. So forgive me and help us that we may seek to understand while fighting like hell to just break the back of all these evil people and things that are inside of our communities. I ask these things, Father, humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, there it is. Student. Oh, okay. Antifa mob beat man to death. Y'all need that. Thank you. All right, appreciate you guys. Have a great day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Rising from the fight for the forgotten and the free, exposing rigged machines, Kuma's lies, Dominion's deceit, pays a grand each day, shielding corrupt halls, but he won't back down, standing tall through it all. Art and Tina Peters break the chains that bind her tight. Hand count votes and one day bring the fraud to light. No more mailing scams, no machines to steal the night. Restore the people's voice, make Colorado right. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away. Shrink the bloated state, let the people have their say. It's our rally call. Truth and freedom rise and watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people. Set our great state free. Help the single moms, bring back trade school strong. Opportunity for youth, where the brave belong. Audit every NGO, ban the wolves that roam. Reclaim our stolen land, bring the power home. Eric Coomer's fraud dominions, rig design, expose the stolen votes, cross a dangerous line. No more victimhood, no chains on you and me. He's running for governor for real liberty. Smash the fraud machine, pardon heroes jailed. For the have-nots, rising truth will never fail. One warrior defies the corrupt elite. Colorado reborn, strong on our feet. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away. Shrink the bloated state, let the people have the say. Governor Oltmann, it's our rally call. Truth and freedom rise and watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people. Set our great state free. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Governor Oltmann, freedom forever, Colorado rise. Governor rise up untamed. In the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam, Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real, no more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave